Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and this week in Palm Beach, it is the NFL Owners Meetings. Adam Peters, GM, the head coach, Dan Quinn for the Washington Commanders, talking to the media, doing a bunch of different stuff. Of course, a bunch of votes are happening this week as to rule changes in the National Football League, and we'll keep you guys updated throughout the week here on the Commanders Report if any major happenings happen at the NFL owners meetings this week. But today, we're going to be breaking down the latest Commanders news and rumors for you guys over the weekend. We did get a video out to you guys this weekend, so we got a bunch of stuff to talk about in terms of Terry McLaurin. We got a little bit of Laremy Tunsil today, and then a little bit of draft rumors for you guys as well. But before we get into the content today, do me a favor, click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and help us win the month of March. Of course, today is March 31st. Tomorrow is April Fool's Day, April 1st, and this is our last chance to win the NFC East sub-battle here for the month of March here at Chat Sports. It's been an awesome month with free agency and everything going on, but right now we are currently trailing every single channel here in the NFC East, but we are right on the heels, and we can turn the tables right now, go from worst to first. If all of our new viewers that are watching this video today, click that subscribe button. The new viewers, we really are counting on you guys to win this month's sub battle. And the deal I'll make with you guys is click that subscribe button. If you don't like our channel, you don't like our content, after a week, you guys can click that unsubscribe button. But for now, let's assert our dominance over the NFC East. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already for daily and free Commanders coverage. So today's rumors, we're going to talk about three of them today. The first one is, should the Washington Commanders trade out of round one of the 2025 NFL draft? Now, obviously, the Washington Commanders possess 5 picks in this year's draft after the bevy of trades that they have made for Deebo Samuel. And then, of course, Laremy Tunsil. They had to give up multiple picks in order to make those trades happen. So you have pick number 29 in round 1, pick number 61 in round 2, pick 128 in round 4, 208 in round 6, and then pick number 245 in the concluding round in round 7. Now, the reason why I want to talk about the possibility of trading out of round 1 is because if the Commanders trade down from number 29, that pretty much means they are for sure going to be trading out of the first round, and teams may be looking to move up for a quarterback at number 29 because it's at the tail end of the first round. If you know anything about rookie contracts in the National Football League, you get that extra year and that 5th-year option on first-round picks. So with these teams looking to get a quarterback in the late part of round 1, whether that's Jackson Dart, whether that's Tyler Shuck, whether that's somebody else, maybe Jalen Milroe, who knows? If they're looking up to get that extra year on their contract, teams might be willing to give the Commanders quite a little package here to move up to their pick at number 29 overall. Some teams that I think could be looking to draft a quarterback late in the first round this year. The Cleveland Browns might be looking to trade up and use their early second-round pick in order to move up with the Commanders. Same thing with the New York Giants. Right now, there's a lot of reporting out there that the Browns and Giants plan on passing on Shadur Sanders out of Colorado. So if Shadur falls all the way to the end of round 1, or if Jackson Dart is still here, I could certainly see Cleveland or New York looking to move up with Washington if that's the case. Also, the New York Jets, they did just sign Justin Fields, but they could also be looking for a long-term plan at the quarterback position to compete with Justin Fields to be the future franchise quarterback there in the Big Apple. Then the New Orleans Saints, they still have Derek Carr, but he's more of a short-term option for them. Perhaps the new head coach there in New Orleans, Kellen Moore, is going to be looking for his answer at quarterback. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers, watch out for the Steelers to potentially trade down into the back end of the first round to potentially take a quarterback, especially if Aaron Rodgers decides to retire. But it does seem at this point Rodgers is on his way to the Steel City. So, when it comes to the Commanders draft strategy here, guys, I think if a top edge rusher is on the board at number 29, you go ahead and you take that top edge rusher. But if all the top edge rushers that you really like in this class are already taken by the time you're picking at number 29 overall, I would entertain a trade down and trade out situation at the end of round 1 this year. And then in terms of the guys that I would stick and pick for, Mike Green out of Marshall and James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee, both of those guys have number 1 edge rusher quality film, in my opinion, but there are some character concerns with both of them. So it's going to be interesting to see if either one of these two top edge rushers end up falling in round 1. If either of them fall to you at number 29 and you believe in the person, you believe that they're going to be an upstanding citizen, all that different stuff, then you can go ahead and take them in round 1. Then also Mykel Williams out of Georgia, really long levered, big body, very athletic very toolsy player that I think would be a great fit here in Washington as well. But those are really the three guys that I would consider, because Abdul Carter is going to go in the top 3 or 5 in this year's NFL draft class, so no reason to even talk about him. So these are the three guys that if they do get to your pick at number 29, I would stick and pick for. But there's definitely a world where those three guys are off the board by the time the Commanders are picking at number 29. And then, when in terms of getting a really good edge rusher, you can still trade down from number 29, get an extra pick or 2 from the team trading up, and you can still get a really good edge rusher on day 2. There's a number of different players that are expected to be there on the board in day 2. Donovan Ezeraku could be a day 1 pick, but I think there's a chance that he could potentially fall down the draft board. Nick Scorton at Texas A&M is another guy that I think could be available day 2. Same thing with Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. Princely, I'm not even going to try to say the last name, producer Jack, because I know I'm going to get it wrong. Davis Walker out of Central Arkansas is somebody that I think Commanders fans should really keep their eye on. Also, Oluwafemi Oladejo from UCLA. I think I got that one, though. Then we got Braden Swinson and Josiah Stewart. All these guys have a nice pass rushing profile that the Washington Commanders are probably looking for along their defensive line in the early rounds of the NFL draft. So if you do trade down into day 2, I think you can still get a really good edge rusher. We break down most of the names that I talked about in the edge rusher class in this video we put out late last week. So check out my edge rusher deep dive on the channel that we put out last week. I'll put the link to that in the comments and description of today's show. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Should Washington trade out of round 1 this year? Type T for trade or type S for stay put. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor at Fanatics. And while I'm talking about Fanatics today, let me know down there in the comment section if you think it's a good idea to trade out of round 1. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics, where they have the officially licensed NFL draft hats for your Washington Commanders here for 2025. And let me tell you, man, the design this year, especially the off-white color here, I think is one of the best designs that we have seen the NFL come out with when it comes to their draft hats in a very, very long time. If you guys want to get yours today, go chatsports.com/2025 draft. You can also get this black color, which is actually the official color for this year's draft right now for the Washington Commanders. This is the hat right here that you're going to see all the Commanders prospects wear on draft day. So if you guys want to get that hat in your collection today, I really like the design this year. I've got one on the way right now. Go to chatsports.com/2025 draft to get your Commanders draft hat for 2025. The next rumor we're going to be discussing on today's show is whether or not the Washington Commanders are going to give Terry McLaurin his massive contract extension soon, because I think we most of us expect that Terry's going to get that big contract extension at some point this offseason, and it could come at any time. It could happen later today. It could happen right before training camp or even during training camp. I mean, these things can be very, very fluid, and you never know when they're going to hit. But after having such an incredible season last year, paired with Jaden Daniels, yes, he's on the other edge of 30 now, but he's still one of the top receivers in the National Football League and one of the most complete wide receivers in the National Football League from what I'm concerning and from what the Washington Commanders concern as one of the best receivers in football. So I really don't expect them to let him go and hit the open market anytime soon. And my projection on what his contract's going to look like is somewhere along the lines of 3 years, $30 million per season. We've seen multiple guys get that $30 million mark. We saw DK Metcalf get that number this year. This was the highest paid wide receivers according to last year's rankings. But of course, DK Metcalf entered the $30 million range this year when he was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But as you guys can see here, that, I think that Terry McLaurin is in that similar kind of category to guys that have gotten that contract recently. Guys like DK Metcalf, guys like Brandon Ayuk. I definitely think Terry is that caliber of guy. He is the true number 1 wide receiver here in Washington. And, if I were him, I wouldn't be asking for anything less than $30 million per season. But just so you guys know, it could exceed that $30 million mark as well. And my best guess when it comes to a McLaurin extension is that we're not going to get an answer on that until we get an answer on Trey Hendrickson. Is he going back to Cincinnati? Are the Bengals going to end up trading him before the NFL draft this year? If so, where do they trade him? Do they trade him to the Commanders? Does he go to Detroit? Does he go somewhere else? Those are all questions that need to be answered, I think, before Adam Peters really takes a good hard look at Terry McLaurin's contract situation and kind of divvies up the money to scary Terry. So let me know down there in the comment section. Is Scary Terry worth the price tag of $30 million per season, even though he's on the other side of 30 years old now? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. My answer to this is abso-freaking-lutely he is. He is an amazing wide receiver with great chemistry with Jaden Daniels. You do not let that walk out of your building, and I would give him a 3-year extension worth at least $30 million per year. The final rumor that we're going to discuss on today's show is whether or not the Commanders should restructure newly acquired left tackle Laremy Tunsil's deal to keep him in Washington for a longer period of time than where he's currently slated to be. Because right now, on his current contract, he is slated to be on this roster for 2025 and 2026 with a cap hit of $21.35 million over the next 2 seasons. So obviously that's a pretty penny right there for, yes, a star left tackle, one of the best pass protectors in the National Football League. But my guess right here, guys, when it comes to Tunsil is because he is getting older and because they don't want to hitch their wagon to him for maybe too long. 2 years is a pretty decent amount of time. I don't think that they're going to give Laremy Tunsil a contract restructure and extension to keep him here past the 2 years that he is currently under contract. I think they want to see how things play out this year, and then if it's really apparent that he's going to be here for the next half decade or more, I think next offseason is the year where they really take a good hard look at his contract and give him the extension then, as opposed to this year where he still has 2 years left on his deal and some pretty decent money still available on his deal. I mean, just look at what they did with the Marshawn Lattimore contract last year. They, 2 years left on his deal when they acquired him, and now you're going into the final year of Lattimore's contract this year. I expect them to take a similar approach to Laremy Tunsil when we reach the 2026 offseason. You certainly could restructure Laremy Tunsil's deal if you want, especially if you want to save some more cap. If you need to get more cap for Trey Hendrickson, what have you. But if I'd have to guess right now, I think Tunsil plays on the $21.35 million cap hit he is currently slated to pick up here in 2025. That'll be it for today's show, guys. I really do appreciate all of your guys' support. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Tomorrow we got more Commanders coverage coming your way. We've got a Commanders Report live show coming on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and I'll see you guys next time.